Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with another episode for you today. This week we're going to be learning how to pay it no mind with Marsha P. Johnson. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us this week, and we have some disclaimers. So, first of all, there is some mention of sexual assault. There's also mention of police violence and violence against the LGBT community, but it is all in reference to good things, and we just we want you to be in a comfortable place if you're wanting to listen to this. So we want you to enjoy it, but be somewhere that you can enjoy it. This one's just so fun though. She did so much. She was even had a photo shoot with Andy Warhol, and she was just an amazing person, just the happiest of the happy and the most giving of the giving. We hope you adore her as much as we did, and we hope you guys have a great day. Hi, friends, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Tenacious V's podcast. Today we're going to be discussing Marsha P. Johnson. Now, what does Kayla know?
My boss's name is Marsha. Marsha P. Johnson. Not ringing a bell. I don't know.
You'll know one day, Kayla.
One day I'll know what
Probably
you guys
in
are
about 30
about.
minutes.
Well, no. One day I'll know what name you guys give me. I will be at least able to offer, oh, she did this thing, and go from there. But today's not that day.
It's okay. I'm really excited.
You guys are just doing a really great job, just bringing all the women to the forefront that need to be, because we don't know about them.
Exactly.
It's perfect. It means you're doing your job.
Well, Marsha P. Johnson was born Malcolm Michaels Jr. on August 24th, 1945 in Elizabeth, New Jersey. She had 6 siblings, and her father was an assembly line worker at General Motors. Her mom, Alberta, was a housekeeper, and she just kept all the children and, the house and everything. But as a child, she went to an African Methodist Episcopal church, which is a mouthful.
Yes.
But she really loved it, and she was actually a very devout Christian her entire life, although she did later in life explore every other religion. She went through Buddhist temples and mosques and synagogues everywhere.
And she stayed, not to be judgmental, but she stayed Christian after she transitioned.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah, she was devout her entire life.
Yeah.
Very much so.
All right.
But she also worshipped the god Neptune. So
I mean, yeah, sometimes you just gotta add.
Yeah. So she started wearing dresses when she was 5, but she stopped for quite a few years because she was actually sexually assaulted by a neighbor boy who was about 13.
Oh, jeez.
And it was really fucked up, actually. So she actually already knew that boys had sex with boys because her neighbor boys would do stuff together, and then
so they were molesting each other.
Well, they were 13 and doing it to each other. That's
not what I pictured
mutual
in my mind.
thing, because they were both 13, but one of them assaulted her when she was dressed up as a girl.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, it was not a good situation.
No.
Her mother also told her he was a he, or she was a he at the time, but her mom told her that being homosexual was being lower than a dog.
Oh.
And Marsha was always such a sweetheart, and she was just such a great person that she literally just, anytime she was asked about it, would say, my mom just doesn't understand homosexuals. She just doesn't understand the community. And it was just...
Wow, just still being that supportive of your mom, and just that she just doesn't understand, and not she's a bad person for...
Or how dare she not understand.
Yeah.
No, it was always literally just that's not how she was raised. She just doesn't get it. She's not spending her time on learning that. It's fine. She still loves me as a mom. It's okay.
Wow.
And she did still actually love Marsha as a kid, you know what I mean? Right. It was like she didn't understand her, but she loved her.
She still was your kid.
Yeah. But as soon as she graduated high school from Thomas A. Edison in 1963, she went to New York. She just hopped on a bus with $15 and a bag of clothes, and she
sent it.
In an interview said that she was like, I felt like the wealthiest person in the world because I had $15 and I knew people that hopped on a bus and went somewhere with $2. So I felt like I was going to make it. I was ready.
Okay.
That was not a direct quote.
Well, when she first moved to New York, she worked as a waitress at Howard Johnson's Diner on 42nd, which is where she got like the Johnson part of her name. So, you know, Marsha P. Johnson, it's because that's where she first kind of like started.
That was like her new life. Her new life.
Yeah, like she started off as a waitress there. She started performing like pretty quickly, like going out to New York. She said she never did drag seriously because she didn't have the money for all that, like all like the glitz and glam of it, you know.
So she always did drag, just drag. I never took drag seriously.
Yeah.
But when she started doing drag, she started living her like whole life as a woman, though.
Yeah.
You know, she started like really embracing like this is who I am. She's saying she danced as a member of Jay Camisia's international New York City-based group, Hot Peaches.
Ah, Peaches!
And they were from 1972 to early 1990s.
Claire.
Yeah. She also performed with the San Fran sector of the Cockettes, called Angels of Light.
I love that so much. I love that. The Cockettes.
The Cockettes.
Oh, man. That's good. That's good.
She was photographed by Andy Warhol in 1975 after becoming very well known within the gay and drag community of New York. Like, dude, everybody loved Marsha. Like,
yeah.
She was the shit, dude. She not only did drag, but she was like, embraced it. She sang, she performed. Andy Warhol, you know. She was considered the angel of Christopher Street.
Just side note, it doesn't matter to the story too much, but just from my own perception, was she like fully transitioning at this time, or was she still carrying herself as a man and just doing drag?
No, she as soon as she started doing drag.
No, Kayla.
No, she started living life as a woman.
Okay, that's like, what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. But so she was fully living as a woman, living her best life at this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
She was getting it as a queen.
Good for her.
Yeah, she was the angel of Christopher Street.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Christopher Street was where all the. So I'm gonna just start referring to like LGBTQ as the community from here on out because it's just a lot easier.
It's a lot of letters.
It's a lot of letters, and I'm gonna get tongue tied.
Cool.
But, so the community of people like where they were able to hang out and get minimally harassed, like they still would get harassed and like you know shoved around by the cops. But they had strength in numbers. But yeah, it was like, and it was just where they were more accepted and where the cops were willing to kind of let them do their thing a little bit more.
Right.
So that was like their spot, you know, and that was like a huge deal because at this time they were massively prosecuted, like especially transvestites. And I'm taking that word from first party sources, but transvestites, drag queens, and anyone not on the typical gender spectrum.
Yeah,
like, they were all very much so targeted intensely. And we're saying transvestite and drag queen because those are the terms used by people being discussed. Like, I watched a lot of first party interviews, like, from the sources, and they were calling themselves transvestites. Marsha called herself a drag queen and a transvestite. Right.
Times have definitely changed, but that's what it was.
The term transgender existed, but it was really not used, and it was massively misunderstood and misrepresented.
Absolutely.
And, badly represented.
Absolutely. When it was, like, synonymous, there wasn't a difference, really. And a lot of people that were transgendered, at the time, it wasn't discussed enough, I feel like, and it wasn't nearly acceptable enough for them to understand that, like, that's what was happening. It wasn't like, oh, I like to dress up as the other thing for, you know, for my own pleasure or whatever. It was like they truly were just in the wrong body and were transgendered and just didn't even have the vocabulary to express that, you know?
Yeah.
It was just a different time.
And it's like a really complex dialogue of the words used now and the words that were used then. Like,
Absolutely,
it's
it
very
is.
different,
Yeah.
and we mean no disrespect in any terms we use.
No.
It's all first party sources
Yeah.
that we're getting it from. But yeah, things were really bad for our brothers and sisters in the community, and they were just being arrested for everything from obstructing the sidewalk to impersonating a woman to prostitution for just walking down the street wearing women's clothing.
That's ridiculous.
And it was
Even
so
just
bad.
the crime of impersonating a woman.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, it was
cool.
a crime.
So what's the harm in that? Like,
so
what
if
do
you
you
were
do?
wearing less than 3 pieces of your traditional gender's clothing, like if I was wearing like more than or less than 3 pieces of women's clothing, like
Mhm.
I'd
Like
be
you wore like a
impersonating
suit
a man.
jacket and like
Yeah,
slacks
if you wore a
and...
3-piece suit,
Yeah, I'd be
that's insane.
impersonating a man.
And like, what is that doing? What is that hurting? Are you like impersonating a woman and robbing banks? Cool, you should probably go to jail. Or are you just like living your life, going to get dinner and going home? That's
Right.
just so appalling to me, honestly.
Yeah. The prostitution part sadly was like actually pretty common because like
Mhm.
they couldn't really make a living anywhere else. Like as soon as any sort of employers found out that that's what was happening,
Mhm.
like they were just instantly fired.
Absolutely.
It didn't even matter.
Absolutely.
So a
Well,
lot
and I'm
of it.
sure if you were like effeminate at all, you just had a harder time getting a job.
Well, a lot of them
Absolutely.
would get waitress jobs as women,
Mm-hmm.
and then as soon as it was like some other queen would find out
You're
and
a
they'd get upset.
fraud.
Or no, like another queen would usually get upset at them and like start some drama and go into the workplace and be like, "She's actually a man. Did you know that? She's impersonating a woman." And then they'd get fired and it'd be a whole thing. So there was like a lot of cattiness and it wasn't really cool. But the like forced sex trade was also not very cool.
Absolutely not. That's awful. We might not have made it all the way, but we've made it a long way since that. You know.
Right.
That's awful.
But yeah, like it was to the point where like people on the street were just like beating, harassing, macing, throwing LGBTQ people into rivers,
Just
like
for rocking their
and
shit.
Yeah,
the
just
cops,
for
yeah.
just for being them.
And the cops
Literally.
like literally wouldn't even do anything, or they would worse, like they would be the ones doing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of
They'd
cops
harass
like
them and
yeah, they would like grab their asses and like sexually harass them and like
Which
stuff like that.
I'm sorry if you have a problem with fucking like quote unquote, you know, if you have a problem with gay people, but you're a male officer out there grabbing fucking drag queens' asses, I'm sorry. You're like
I think
persecuting
you're a little
the wrong
confused,
people.
buddy.
right.
Like what a hypocrite are you?
Right.
Cool, it's like a power move, I get that, but if you're the kind of fucking cop that can go out and grab another guy's ass and say, "Oh, gay people are fucked up,"
Right.
what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
It was horrible. It was horrific. Marsha herself actually got thrown off a bridge into the Hudson.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, they were declaring gayness as a disease, and they were treating people with like electric shocks, and they're making it more and more illegal to be in the LGBTQ community, like at all times. Like you couldn't walk out of the house without getting harassed in some way or another. But none of this in any sort ever affected Marsha's like sunny disposition. She was always super duper happy. At this time, she was a panhandler and she was working as a sex worker.
Mm-hmm.
And she would often get just like a few dollars. And as soon as she'd get a few dollars, she'd immediately give it to like her friends or other people who were in need or if somebody needed food.
Mm-hmm.
She always had like everybody else in mind. She often would like get food for like the children and other drag queens because like they were all kind of living this life together. I mean, like you said, who's going to hire them? They were having problems all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone saw her as like this fabulous mother figure or like a saint. She always did her best to make sure everybody was happy. Sometimes she would take her like even last $10 and go buy as many flowers as she could. And the people at the flower shop, like, they loved her too. Everybody fucking loved her.
Yeah.
They would sometimes, like, let her sleep under their tables and give her, like, scrap flowers because they knew how much she loved them. And she would take the flowers, she'd arrange them like very elaborately all over her dress and her hair. You know, again, she was like giving those out too. And people would ask her all the time, like, why are you spending your last dollars on these flowers? And she would always come back with, well, they're going to make me a lot more money. You know, because she would like dress herself all nice and they would help with like her sex work and her drag performances.
Right.
You know, these fresh flowers she would get all the time. It's kind of like her redeeming trait.
Well, yeah, and even in that, like the situation she was in, she was so focused on building. She wasn't interested in just getting by. She wasn't just like I could spend that $10 on, a pack of cigarettes and 40. I could spend that $10 on feeding myself for the next 2 nights. Like
Right.
it was like how can I continue to grow? How can I get further than where I am now?
Well, not
She
even
had
just
drive.
getting herself, but getting everybody else
Yeah,
further.
she had drive and she wanted to bring the community up with her. Like she was an ambassador, and that's amazing for where she was sitting at the time.
One of her friends recounts a story of they bought like a package of chocolate chip cookies with their last $2, and they walked from the store to the pier, and by the time they got to the pier, she had handed out every single cookie in the pack, and he was like, but she knew that a chocolate chip cookie was worth more than gold to a starving drag queen.
I love that. That could make me cry. Wow. I love that so much. She seems amazing. Because that's what it is. That's important. Is you're not going to get any farther if you don't boost the people around you up. And she probably wouldn't have been as big of a name had she not impacted that many people.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. And so like a lot of her impact and her incredible like personality did come from, like her upbringing and just her being herself and just her truly expressing herself. But unfortunately, like
Oh no,
she
I hate that word.
Unfortunately.
suffered from some mental illnesses. And she went completely untreated her whole life, but she more than likely suffered from bipolar or schizophrenia or some combination thereof.
Oh, that's so sad.
And Bob Kohler, a friend of hers, said she'd often be like running up and down Christopher Street, and she'd either already be naked or she'd run up to him and she'd be like, Bob Kohler! And he said she never said just his first name. She always said both his first and last. But she would run up and she'd grab him, and all of a sudden he'd like blink his eyes and she'd be completely naked with all of her clothes in her arms, and she'd be like tugging his clothes off, like trying to get him naked. And then they would go down to like the pier or the river, and they would like she would throw all the clothes in as an offering to Neptune and like her father, and she like often mixed them up in her head quite a bit of like as the same person. And she said she once like looked into the river and saw her father, and so that was like one of the big glaring symptoms, you know what I mean?
I love that just that recounting of her as a person from him is it's just like it's just so genuine. It feels like you're sitting down like with somebody who has lost somebody, and they just tell you that one story that's just like this is who she was as a person. Like it's like you telling me what he said to somebody else, but I can like see the like glint in his eye when he talks about it. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, dude. But it's sad because after a lot of these incidents and then some other ones where she would like take on like a more masculine form, because she was a very feminine person, and she was like tall, slender, like really like everyone thought she was beautiful, so she was like this person, but this feminine person, but she would become a lot more like masculine and angry and like violent, and she would start calling herself Malcolm, so she would revert back to like her childhood name.
Right.
And
she was struggling with that a lot.
Yeah, so that was like a big deal for her. So it was like maybe like a multiple identity something.
Or the schizophrenia that she had.
Yeah, or
possibly had.
Compartmentalized her former identity.
But like the police would pick her up a lot, and they'd take her for like about a month or so, and they would inject her spine with chlorpromazine, and then they would like let her go back on the street, and she would just like be a zombie for like a month or so, and then it would wear off, and she'd go back to being herself, and she'd be like, okay, but
Wow, what great mental health care they're
Right.
providing.
yeah,
Here, we'll see you again when it wears off.
yeah, dude, it was fucked up. And then it's like it's really sad too because a lot of people discredit her whole life. Like they just discredit everything she did and everything that she like earned for herself because of her mental illnesses.
Yeah.
And because like
That's
she was
awful.
some crazy person, but like really she was really struggling and she really needed a lot more help and support than she was
all
getting.
She did was lift everyone around her up and be unapologetically herself. She could have been like, I'm sorry, she could have been some like random crackhead on the street just doing whatever they can to get their next fix and contributing nothing, and instead she clearly, like what Bob Coulter said, like clearly touched so many people's lives.
Yeah, she accomplished like so many things. I mean, ultimately her biggest accomplishment was either a shot glass or a brick, and it started the Stonewall riot. Is like what she's like well known for. This was an event that happened June 28th, 1969. The Stonewall Inn was a gay like queen bar that Marsha went to like all the time. It was boarded up, sleazy, hot, stinky. You had to give like a scary bouncer a password to get in.
like through a slat in the door, like an eye hole in the door.
Password.
But like it was like a home away from home for her, and a large part of like the LGBTQ community. Things were already really tense, like as the police have been trying to like rid the world of this plague of gayness. These rowdy, gross gays and women impersonators, like the police are trying to get rid of it. So the laws were getting stricter every day, and more LGBTQ people were being injured or going missing. So like shit was rough at this time, y'all. It was so terrible.
It was dangerous. It was you were risking your life to be who you were.
That's awful.
The night of the riot, some cops came down for a raid at the inn without backup, and it was like super late. They usually raided in early evening when it was empty because the mob owned it and like paid off the cops. So they'd come and like, get the hell out of here.
Oh, we'll shoot some fucking gay people and not, piss off our mob bosses.
No. So pretty much the mob owned pretty much all of the gay bars like everywhere at this time. And they were paying off the cops.
Right.
So the cops would come in around 6 p.m. There'd be maybe
when
2
it's
people.
Empty, right.
They'd give them a ticket, whatever. They got their money.
Yeah.
The police, whatever. It was
They're
fine.
saving face.
So like they knew, but they weren't like trying to make a thing of it.
They were like paid off to ignore it.
Like the mob still needs to make money, but the cops still need everyone to know that being fucking gay is not okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one time they come like super late and not enough people to like raid it, and there was like the place was packed, and the cops tried to make everyone give up their IDs. Everything was like super tense because like obviously like it's a gay and a trans bar, and to ask somebody for your ID while you're in that mode, like that's fucked up.
That's
Yeah. And everything was like super duper tense. People were getting angry, and someone, and most likely it was Marsha, threw either like that brick or like a shot glass or something at the cops while screaming. Do you want to scream this?
I want my rights!
I love that.
She denied saying this.
She denied being there at this point. So, from her point of view, she showed up later and the building was on fire. And I don't think the building was actually ever on fire.
Okay.
But
okay.
So she says this never happened.
But like
it was called the shot glass heard round the world. Because she like threw it at a mirror and shattered the mirror. Like,
and then everybody fucking
right,
dude, and everybody erupted.
Oh my god! Well, because like honestly, how dehumanizing for you to be being yourself and you to be in the only place where you're safe to do that, and someone to come in and say, "Show me the ID of who you used to be," because that's what you had. You can't go to the DMV and say, "Oh well, I'm Marsha now," and then be like, "Oh, okay, here you go."
Right.
Not a thing. So like that's just fucking humanizing at that point. Good for her. I love that.
Get him, dude.
I wish I was there.
Dude. So like interrupted. The cops go and they're like hiding, like, oh shit, dude, we fucked up.
Yeah.
Back up, back up.
Oh no.
And meanwhile, all the queens are dancing and singing.
Tell me.
Can we do it together?
Yes.
We are the Stonewall Girls. We wear our hair in curls. We don't wear underwear. We show our pubic hair.
Oh my god! At the cops.
They would also like are grabbing their
Oh.
butts and like harassing the
Just
cops.
totally like nanny boo boo.
Yeah.
You can try, but
So there
we're
was,
doing
like-
okay.
There's like hundreds of queens, and there's like 10 cops.
Oh my god.
And they hadn't alerted any backup. Nobody else knew this was going on. They kept it a secret. It was just this one small precinct that was like,
Yeah.
we're doing this.
Yeah.
And then they got way outnumbered, and they got trapped inside the Stonewall
Just-
Inn. Dude.
yeah.
The
Just of
queens
their
were
worst
surrounding it.
fears.
Yeah.
Their worst homophobic asshole nightmares, just like sitting there defenseless, surrounded by a bunch of fucking people that they don't associate.
Well, they had the
Bunch of
end of
queers.
That's
it, dude.
amazing.
The LGBTQ
Oh.
community, they were done with it.
Yeah.
They're like, this is the last fucking straw.
Strength
yo.
in
Yeah.
numbers, dude. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. That's
And-
crazy.
So another factor that led to this one being so successful was there's like winding alleyways, and like that particular neighborhood was like perfect for people getting away and
Perfect
running
storm.
away. So it was just like this perfect blend of just like
Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
I wish
like,
it was there. Who died? Did anyone die? Did anyone get shot and die?
no.
No.
Okay,
Cool.
so
Then
you guys wanna
I
hear a
wish I was
crazy
there.
thing, though? You wanna hear the craziest part? That okay, some of the queens took a parking meter and pulled it out of the ground and used it as a battering ram to try and bust open the door to get to the cops.
Oh my god. Wow.
A fucking parking meter,
Like,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't pull one of those out of the ground. Are you kidding me?
I don't think all three of us could.
No.
I don't think so.
No. Jesus.
That's a lot, guys.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So they were like obviously huge win
Yeah.
for this community. Like, holy
Jesus.
shit.
That's amazing.
So they were like, well, while we're on this up streak, like, we gotta do something. Like, we gotta hold a something.
Uh-huh.
So they decided to hold a parade for gay rights, and it actually became the first ever gay pride parade.
No.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's
Where are they?
New York.
New York. That's right. I
So-
could remember New Jersey, New York.
Hella shitty, though.
Uh-oh.
Because the committee of like upper class white and middle class gays and lesbians were like, we don't want any drag queens or transvestites. Like, you guys are gonna ruin our name. No one's gonna take us seriously if we have a
Wow.
bunch of queens running with us. Like,
Wow.
you're not marching. So you know what Marsha and her best friend Sylvia Rivera did?
Oh god, I can't wait.
They went in front of the parade, started before them, and they fucking marched out ahead of everyone.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Incredible.
Wow. To make that much of an impact and then be ostracized within your own community.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
What the actual fuck?
So do you want to hear her best ever quoted line, like, into a microphone?
Can't wait. Uh-huh.
So she screamed at a reporter as she was walking past, "Darling, I want my gay rights now!"
Darling. Oh, I love her. That's great.
Yeah. So the parade was set up to go from Christopher Street to Central Park. But nobody thought they were ever going to make it to the park. Like, they didn't have anything planned. They didn't have speakers. They were just like,
Like, we're just gonna
Just
do
go
this
for
we're
march.
just going to
Yeah.
go until the police run us away.
Yeah.
That was it. And they started with about 150 people and ended up with close to 2,000 people
No.
marching together.
Just, oh my god. I picture just like this tiny little pod going down like a main street and just like people coming out of their houses and slowly joining it, and then like whole other marches
Oh my
meet
gosh,
them. Like
yes.
this whole procession.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's amazing.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So this was just a start for her. Like, getting this march together was just the
Jeez.
beginning. Her and Sylvia managed to get the mob to fund like a house or an apartment or something, some sort of room for them. And they opened the first ever refuge for homeless teenage transvestites, transgendered kids, and drag queens.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine them meeting with, like, the mob? Like, for this bitch to walk into a room and...
I bet they'd love it.
Marsha,
but, like,
oh.
for her to walk in the room and then leave with an apartment that they're paying for, like, she was a badass bitch. She
Oh, yeah.
walked in and she took no shit and she said, "This is what you're giving me."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it only lasted a couple months, but they helped as many kids as they could, and they did as much as they could for all those kids that they took in. And
That's amazing.
they, like, had clothing donations and food, and they just offered it up to any street people. Like, they let as many people as could fit stay there.
That's
Like,
awesome.
it was great. They also started an organization called STAR, or STAR, and it was Street Transvestites Action Revolutionaries.
I love it.
And, like, everyone that was interviewed about it was just like, it was just so great because all of the people in it were already stars. Like, they were just these beautiful, amazing queens. And everyone was, like, all about it. And, yeah, they just thought it was so funny. But it was a group of gay, gender nonconforming, and transgender street activists. And they worked to provide, like, shelter, safety, food, and clothing to homeless, queer youth, and sex workers throughout Lower Manhattan.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, like, some pretty important, solid work. Sylvia and Marsha were, like, the mother hens. Like, they were just totally all about it, all in. They took care of everyone. They were, like, making chicken soup when kids were sick and
That's
stuff,
so
you know what I
cute.
mean?
Yeah.
And they paid for everything with money that they earned through sex work. Like,
Dude,
they
wow.
were, yeah. Marsha was even shot by a taxi driver that didn't want to pay her.
Oh
Like, he let her out of the cab and she tried to run away and he shot her in the back.
Oh my god.
And she actually lived the rest of her life with a bullet next to her spine because they couldn't remove it at the time.
Jesus. Like, I love my job, but I think all the time about, what would I be willing to work for, like, with my job? And they are literally selling their bodies. That's not going to be a great position to be in. It doesn't have to feel good all the time.
Right.
And they don't care. Like, they are putting it to fucking use and saying, I'm going to do this as much as I need to do it to make a difference. And that's so amazing. That's crazy. Like, I work hard. I love my job. It's really difficult a lot of the time. I'm always exhausted. But I'm like, cool, it pays my bills and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I would, like, do my job twice as much to apply it to that amount of things. It's amazing of them.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, they were incredible. To the point where their star programs and their transgendered, like, queer youth hostel thing,
Yeah.
like, those programs are still used today.
That's amazing.
Like,
that's awesome.
I mean, she was a huge impact on everybody, like her whole community, anybody that she interacted with, and was considered by many, including like most local priests and rabbis, to be a saint of her own time. She was also like a modern day saint kind of in the LGBTQ like state rights. She was arrested over 100 times by her account, institutionalized, thrown off a bridge, shot, degraded daily just for being like herself.
Right.
You know, but she never once lost hope. She was like super posy through everything, made everybody smile.
Posse.
She was once asked by a judge what the P in her name stood for. Can you guess? Can you guess? Can you guess?
No, I want to know.
Pay it no mind.
Shut the fuck up. I was like, Julia, if it's posse and this is all vanilla, I'm gonna kill you.
I would die.
that'd be the best.
That is amazing.
Marsha,
Pay it no mind, Johnson. Oh my god, that's so great. Pay it no mind.
And that's what was like kind of her common response when people asked what her gender was. She'd be like, pay it no mind.
And I love that. That's amazing. Pay it no mind. What the fuck does it matter to you?
Yeah, well, why does it matter?
What the hell does it matter to you? And that's just like I think about when you're talking about just the culture at the time. Like literally imagine just walking down the street and somebody doing those things to you, just like, I don't like the way you look. Like that's all it is.
Yeah.
Like why the fuck does it matter to you? I just can't imagine it. Someone's like, hey, you got blue hair, I don't like that. Like, okay.
Sorry.
Pay no mind.
Cool.
Yeah, pay no mind. So she, like, obviously was, like, a huge pillar in her community all the way up until her death. She died July 6, 1992.
Sad.
Yeah. She went missing 2 days after the Gay Pride Parade. After the 1992 Gay Pride Parade, so it was on July 4th.
Yeah.
Her body was found about a week later at the bottom of the Hudson River.
She got killed.
Well, the cops said that it was suicide, but
Of course
like every
they
person
said
that was interviewed was like, no, dude, she would never do that. There's no fucking way. So many
Like-
people depended on her. She was the most caring person in the world.
She wouldn't have done that.
Well, and even knowing about her mental illnesses and those imbalances and stuff,
Mhm.
every single person was like, with that in
Absolutely not.
mind, there's
Absolutely.
no way.
Well, and also just the hearsay of the police at that time with that. Like, that's...
I mean, she's a black, gay, queer...
who has incited a riot
transgender
in her
woman.
past.
Yeah.
Who is boosting the community. She's protecting the community.
Right.
She's a drag
Which is,
queen.
she's a drag queen, which is completely against the interest of the law at that time.
Right.
Which, not saying the cops killed her,
No.
but
They're just not going to look
there's
into
some
it.
suspicious circumstances there.
Which, I mean, and if she did commit suicide, I mean, thank God she was able to help as much as she did. But,
Right, no, absolutely.
But ultimately, everybody, including her best friend Sylvia, like, said no way. Because
Just no
Sylvia
one
and
buys
her,
it.
dude, Sylvia and her had a pact that they would cross the veil together. So she, like, especially believed that it was foul play.
Yeah, nobody's buying it.
Right. Well, when they found the body, there was a bruise on the back of her head. Yeah. The support for her, like, at her funeral was incredible, though. I mean, they don't investigate any further, so I just want to kind of add that.
Yeah.
But, like, everybody showed up was so, like, overflowing of their love for this woman. They literally overflowed the church. They planned to, like, walk her casket to the river for her to be with Neptune. But there was way too many people, so the chief of police said that Marsha was a good person and actually closed down the streets for her procession.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, so
That's really big.
I mean, regardless of the police and being like, oh, the police suck, and they
but
hated them and this
she
and
had that one
but, like,
last success.
but sorry, go on.
I'm sorry. Also, like, in her life, she got arrested, like, over 100 times, like
Yeah.
Julia said. But a lot of the times, like, people would be like, where's Marsha? I haven't seen her in a couple days. They'd be like, she probably got arrested.
Yeah.
And she'd come back and say they sentenced her to 30 days and she got 10.
Mm-hmm.
So they would always, like, every time they would give her a 30-day sentence, and, like, all the other people that got that charge would get, like, 30, and they'd let her out after 10.
Like, oh, Marsha.
Yeah,
Marsha.
Yeah. But, yeah, she had that, like, that one last win. That one last, I guess, just, like, statement of the progress that she made is that, like, with the tensions at the time, like, the streets got shut down for her funeral. That's huge.
Yeah, dude.
It's a testament to her.
So, if you want to learn more and actually hear her voice and see her face, there's a documentary with interviews from her and a lot of close friends of hers, and it's fucking incredible. You should
awesome.
definitely watch
What
it.
is it called?
It is Pay It No Mind, The Life and Times of Marsha P. Johnson.
Pay It No Mind.
And it came out in 2017, directed, produced, and written by David France.
Oh, I definitely want to watch that.
Yeah,
it's
really good, so you should definitely check that out.
I just, like, I'm left kind of in awe.
It's
honestly,
all on you.
Because
It's fully on YouTube.
when we talk about a lot of women, I've learned about a lot of women, and, like, it just goes to show that no matter how you apply yourself, like, success is success, and that stuff matters. Because we talk about, like, women who, like, sail the 7 seas and do that amazing stuff and, like, change entire cultures of Egypt and win fucking gold medals. Like, all this amazing stuff has happened, but, like, this woman just change some lives. This woman just was the happy spot on so many people, and like that impacts me the same as all the other stuff. Like it doesn't not to
You don't
get
have
like
to fly
so
to the
cheesy,
moon, or
but
you
yeah,
don't
like,
have to like
you don't
discover
have to do those
gold.
big things, but like as long as you were just like to your core for your people and a good person, like that's just as fucking important. I think that's so cool. Thanks for teaching me about her.
Yeah.
She made me so happy.
She was so
she made me
good,
so
right?
happy. I love it.
I loved her too. She was fun.
That's great.
Well, thanks for learning how to pay it no mind with us. We really appreciate it. And we hope you'll tune in again soon.
Don't pay that no mind. Please listen.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, guys. This week was a really fun one. If you enjoyed that, please give us a follow on Instagram, Spotify, Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and Podbean. We really appreciate your support. We're so happy you guys are still with us. As always, this episode was spoken, edited, and recorded by Kayla, Nona, and Julia. We love you. Hope to see you again soon.